Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming for you guys. Today is absolutely no different. Today, I wanted to come forward. I had something on my spirit. I woke up with it this morning, and I want to speak to it. I know yesterday I spoke to in the Sunday service. I spoke to David and Saul. And you know what's so funny about that is I didn't even anticipate speaking to that yesterday. I was going to speak to accountability, and hopefully I'll get to accountability in this podcast. But Spirit has put something else on me to speak to this morning. And in speaking to that yesterday, I was able to distinguish the differences between David and Saul and how none of David's interactions with Saul should be concrete ways for us to go about our life, but we can use that particular situation as a situational to cross-reference the things that we experience with one another, people that come into our lives and that seem as if they're that character. When I speak to Saul, all of the Sauls of my life have been different, y'all. Saul is like an umbrella for a number of different situations. Saul is in no way conveyed to one singular person. Not in my life. I don't think that's the same for you either. Saul is a spirit. And this is the point that I was trying to get you all to see yesterday in my communications with you. Saul is not a person. Saul transitioned from a person when he transitioned from this life. And Saul is now a spirit. Just like Jezebel. Jezebel is not any longer the Jezebel of old times, but it is the spirit of this individual. Because of these people's prominence in their activities, they have taken on the embodiment, that spirit that led them all in doing and acting the way that they acted in the earth within their limited amount of time on the earth. That spirit now has, whatever name it was named, has now taken on the name of that avatar that it acted through in the earth. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I speak to Saul, I'm not speaking to, any particular Saul of my past. The Sauls of life constantly show themselves through different vessels. They're constantly being exposed as being Saul-like. So I want to convey that to you because a lot of times we get lost in the message. Get the lesson that the message is speaking to. You get lost in trying to focus so much on the messenger, rather. Get what the message is conveying. Don't focus so much on Saul's particular activity. Focus on the spirit, because it is the spirit that moves. Saul is back to dust. He's dust. But that spirit is still pronounced in the world, and it works through people. And so that leads me to my conversation today. I want to speak to belief in knowing and standing on the promises of God. A lot of times, these spirits that embody people, they ride people like, a rider would ride a horse. They ride upon people. We've seen time and time again in scripture, whether all before the fall or even Adam and Eve, when Eve is in the garden and she is encountered by this entity, this person. The apocryphal texts paint a very vivid picture of this interaction. The Bible, not so much. It says that it was a serpent. The Apocrypha says that this entity came upon Eve as if it was Adam. It says that Eve was beguiled by someone that she thought she knew. It was a spirit that had came into an entity and taken over. And we'll find that We're first introduced to this spirit in Genesis with Adam and Eve. And we see a technique that this spirit has within its arsenal. It can present itself as anything. In the Bible, it says that the enemy can present itself as an angel of light. So that's another aspect of it. These are two aspects that directly relate to one another in likeness. And that is that this entity can be whatever it wants to be. When we look at Job's situation and God having some sort of a convention in the heavenly realms, and Satan is there. And God is asking Satan, where have you been? And he says, I've been walking to and fro, up and down in the earth. Well, what does that mean? That if you look at it from a logical perspective, who's walking to and fro, up and down in the earth? People. Various people. People from all nationalities, people from all kind of ethnic backgrounds, but people with one common theme. They are bone, they share the same bone, bone of our bone, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Satan is saying, I was busy walking up and down, to and fro in the earth. That means that this being can move through various people at will. That's another attribute to this entity. So when we see these spirits, when we speak to spirits, we're speaking of spirits that do these types of things. They work through people. When we look at Babylon, what were they doing? The whole world at this point, after the flood, had become idolaters. Why idolaters? Well, I've gotten into this. They were idolaters because these spirits need a vessel. These are two aspects that we're seeing. Actually, three. They can move at will and present themselves to us humans as whatever they like. They can move through various people. They're not bound to any particular structure. They're not bound in a tree. They're not only bound within a crevice. They're not bound to any particular thing. They can move through people. And they need a vessel. They're formless. They don't have a form. They don't have consistency in form. So, knowing all of these things, you get to Babylon, and Babylon makes a lot of sense. The entire world had become idolaters at this point because they had made relations with these fallen ones. Adam and Eve's descendants, all of Noah's descendants, had now had the opportunity to replenish the earth. They didn't do it. They congregated and they became fearful. And these fallen ones come right in and feel a need. Whether it's a need of multiplying, they're still under the curse. But not so much, because God said replenish the earth. So God lifted the certain aspects of the curse had to have. Because how did they multiply so fast? It's as if God said, okay, I'm going to alleviate some of these pressures that I put upon you from this curse because I'm resetting everything and I'm giving you guys a new shot at this. And they begin to multiply, but they don't do what they're told to do. They don't move around. They congregate out of fear. They allow fear to overtake them. And these fallen ones come and they provide these people with some sort of direction. because this is what these people always are in need of. But this need should be met from within. But these fallen ones come with their knowledge and wisdom, and they find them, they give them direction, and the direction is always going to serve them. And they began worshiping idols that they would create with their hands, the children, and that they would invoke this spirit in, this formless spirit that I'm speaking to, that has no form. Many of you, wherever you are right now, there's many spirits around you right now, and you don't know it. They move so fast that you cannot see them. They are everywhere. My goal in this conversation today, since we know all of these things, right? Since we have such an abundance of knowledge, and we have so many ways of gaining more knowledge at our fingertips, we got to stand in that knowledge at a point, right? The fascination must turn into a knowing at some junction within our lives. And it must be made manifest in our experiences, right? It's as if, we're all born in this life, and we all have a path to tread in this life, right? We all are treading paths in this life. The enemy comes and intervenes and has a path that he wants us to tread, yet God has created us and ordained us a path that we will tread. Nothing can deviate us from this path that we will tread. We were created to tread a specific path before we were even created and were born into this world. And we begin experiencing things in life. We go through life and we experience all the stuff that we need to experience to come into some sort of knowledge, right? Some kind of knowledge as to where we are, the structure of things. We become programmed to our environments and how to interact within our environments. And after we get to a certain point in our walk, it's as if there's these various things that come on our path to distract us, to dissuade us, to stop us, to redirect us. There are many things that come on our path, and we call them challenges. They come to disrupt the flow of our progression on our path, right? Because when we're walking our path, we have all of these ideas of what our tomorrow is going to be. We can find rest in the repetitiveness of our walk, and then we can start basing our tomorrow on our yesterdays and forecasting out. If we continue with our activities in a certain way, we can have certain things in our tomorrows. But then we get to a junction where things begin to kind of go haywire, and the unexpected happens, and we are educated and knowledgeable now that, wow, things can actually happen on our path. And it can be very shocking. You're like, darn, I never thought such could happen to me, but it can and it will. And now I need to start elaborating on ways to protect myself from these things happening while I'm continuously walking down this path. Right? Because life doesn't stop. It keeps going. Whether you've been hurt, whether you're sad, whether you're depressed, life still keeps going. And whatever level of life that you had before that happened, you need to adhere to that still. Yet, all of these things are necessary. All of these things are vitally necessary to our coming into our knowing. There must be a point within our lives where we have accumulated enough of varied experiences to come into a knowing. It is the walks in life in which we search for God, like Abram did. Is God in the sun? Is God in the tree? Is God in the water? Is this really God that's in this idol? If this is God that's in the idol, and my Father created the idol, would my Father then be the creator of God? Will my Father have enough knowledge to do so? My Father can't even tell what his tomorrow is going to be. This was Abram. How in the world can my Father then be as smart as creating a vessel and allowing God to put himself in? Wouldn't God already know how to do this? Why would God need my Father to create the vessel? If my Father created me, and this wondrous world that we see around us, that all work in synchronicity to one another, would God need me to put him in a vessel? How did God fall so low in his own system that he would now need me to create a vessel for him to be housed in? It is the thinking like this that leads you while you're walking your path and going through all the experiences that I just explained to you, that leads you to your knowing. It would be like Abram's spirit, his soul, would be yearning for truth. Many of you have experienced these things. I have. Have you ever been so fascinated with something that your spirit, your soul was yearning? It was beyond you. Whether it's gardening, you just get this thing where you want to start potting plants and working with horticulture and grasses and vegetation and all of these things. Whether it's you're yearning to know more spiritually, you're looking to connect with God on a deeper level, you're willing to challenge concepts, to peek behind the veil, to say, is this really it? And if God loved me so much, as scripture says, and God has given me this phenomenal mind, would God really be angry with me for searching for him like I did? Will God really be angry with me for questioning? God gave me the spirit of reason. In order to reason, you must question. You must prove a thing. God says, prove me. You must wrestle with all of these things, friend, in this life. You must not be afraid to question these things. You must not be afraid to face the truths of them when they present themselves. And not allow it to bind you with fear. Because we see more than 365 times in the Bible, God saying, do not fear. You cannot let any of these energies dominate you. And what you will find in your search for God is that you will travel through many strange places. Life becomes very strange. It becomes very strange. To other people, it will offend other people. You're looking for God. It will offend them. It will mesmerize others. Others will be introduced to you through lies. You will be introduced to people through lies, friend. Not misconceptions. Just lies. To control the flow of your water. A lie is like a binding entity. It looks to constrict you, to control you. A lie. You will come into the attention of people by way of lies. You will come into the attention of people by their longing for truth. There will be people that will come into interaction with you when you are searching for God by way of longing for truth, commonality, shared interests. You're into something that they're into, soul stuff. It's a soul tie. My soul needs this. Wow, I caught a word you said and you captured my attention and kept it. That's soul stuff. Mesmerizing stuff. And regardless, if your walk is pure and it is truly what you desire, the lies, the misconceptions, the fears that other people project upon you when you walk in it that are not really strong enough in their knowing and in their thing will all fall away. They will burn away based on your truth. And all of this is conducive to your walk in life. It's conducive to you walking this life amongst the various hazards that come against you in your walk. All of these things are necessary because these various hazards are like qualifiers that you must overcome to get to the next, and they never stop in life. Why am I bringing all of this up? I'm leading you on a journey to knowing. This is the journey of knowing from beginning to end. This is the knower's journey. The knower, the fool, whatever you want to call them, because none of us know it all. And to know is to know I know nothing at all, but I know. The knower knows that it takes all these things, but most importantly, it takes for you to know where the power comes. And in order to know from where the power flows and from whence the power comes, you got to go on this journey. You don't get it for free. You don't ear hustle your way into it. You ear hustling your way into it makes you into one of those people that will try to bind you or someone else that comes forth with it authentically with lies. These are how those are created. So that once you walk through these things and you interact with the various people in this life, you're going to interact with them all. You're going to interact with the good. You're going to interact with the bad. You're going to interact with the ugly. And it will not shift you. Look at David. I didn't know I was going to do the Bible set, the Sunday service on David and Saul. I had no preconceived notion on that. But like with anything else, spirit dictates the flow, that the direction the water flows from me. When we look at David and we look at Saul, not Saul the person, not David the person, the spirit. We're looking at two distinct different types of spirits. One is a knower, but doesn't know anything at all. And one stands on a house of lies, deception. Saul didn't know himself. The spirit of Saul does not know himself. He does not. He's a placeholder, or she's a placeholder. Let's just say it, because I don't want anybody to think I'm talking about a person. It is a placeholder. And the spirit of David, it knows, but then it knows nothing at all. What do I mean by that? The spirit of David knows from whence its power comes. And that's all it knows. Yet, through the spirit of David knowing from whence its power comes, it can and it will do all things. Just by it knowing that singularity aspect of itself. By it knowing and paying attention and acting in accordance to this knowing, consistently keeps this spirit in alignment, and those that embody this spirit in alignment to the fullness of the power of which it is. So that when the storms of life come, because this is how the enemy gets you. I just told you, God created all of us with the path before we were born. That nobody can change that path but God. Yet when we're born into this life and we begin having experiences, there are alternate paths that the enemy throws and projects on us through people, through other spirits. Yet, when you know, after a season of life and you come into your knowing of the God within you, you become like Neo facing those agents, the Smiths. And when they come upon your path, you are not blown so much away by them because you're standing in acknowledgement of the knowing and you are leaning in on the knowing to direct you, but you're banking on all of the varied experiences you've had walking the path and coming into your knowing. It's not your first rodeo. An experience, world experience, coupled with this knowing is a very powerful presence. It is a superpower. So that when these agents, Smiths, and all of the outward stuff, because that's what it is, your knowing is inward. The power is inward, but it only is activated and only is active by you coming into realization of it and then acting on it to keep it empowered and prominent within you. And once you do that, the agents don't stop coming. They come even the more. It becomes, I'm telling you, it becomes where much is given, much is expected. Well, I heard a person say the other day, where much is given, much is demanded. The attack becomes extremely prominent. I know many of you understand where I'm coming from, but this is the thing with it. All of these outside attacks, when they come and you reach a certain plateau in your knowing is so solidified that you come into the rhythm of the knowing of how these attacks show themselves. You've been through so many of them. And this is where you lean on the promises of God. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you say, well, do I know or do I not know? Where are we with this? Do I know or do I not know? Am I going to be blown by the winds of this storm, or am I going to tell the storm to cease? Because if I stood in the total integrity of all that God has told me, and I know that through my actions I'm aligned and my hands are clean and I'm righteous, then the word of God has got to show itself. When do we prove the word of God? When? Friend, I'm here to tell you that we are in seasons right now where God has put many people amongst us in front of some of y'all faces. You have seen aspects of people. God has allowed you to see aspects of people that you just would not have been able to see 20 years ago through social media. You have been able to coagulate as a group and see aspects of people and then talk it out amongst the group. You've been able to go on your own and see certain aspects of people. And God has put people before you for a purpose. All a divine purpose. Many of you can go on social media nowadays and see someone when they were born. The time that this person was born on their social media page. You can see their first birthday, their fifth birthday, their interactions, what their mom posted, the highs, the lows, the tweets, the TikToks, the states of mind the people were in at each junction of their life. You see it. Many of you have home videos, Ring cameras in your house that you've had for many, many years. And you can go and rewind back to the days of your lives. That's where we are today. Never before have we been here. Not that we know of. God has put it in a way nowadays where we're privy to the intricate aspects of each other's walks. Some more than others. God has put people in front of us that we are privy to the intimate aspects of their walks. No denying it. No corrupting it. You can't put a lie on it. It's there. And God has used those people in such a monumental way. Not because he didn't have anything to do. No. But because God knows that there will come a time where the rubber meets the road for many of you. That God will say, give me a reason. Give me a reason. Give me a reason. I have allowed you to see my son, my daughter, and their walks for a reason that will lead to a crescendo, a junction, when all these little things, all of these derailments and distractions consistently come upon their lives and in their paths. And it will be the outward projections that will show themselves to try to make these people afraid. And I will then be able to say, I will have a purpose. I will have a reason to come forth with a mighty hand. Just to keep my promise. There will be nothing that you could say that my child or my son, my daughter, whomever is or is not doing to justify the wickedness you wish for them. Your justification for wickedness is going to it's going to provoke me into action. It's going to give me a reason. God did not lead you this far to leave you, friend. God did not lead you this far to leave you. God did not lead you this far for some wickedness to overcome you. If that were the case, then all of the texts that we see of the promises of God, all of the walks of these people, all of the experiences all of you out there, the sea of you, have had that justify the promises of this God are in the balance. It gets a time in your life where you stand on everything that you hold dear and you let it represent you. Surely, we live in a vicious world that'll chew you up and spit you out. We live in a vicious world, friend. But when you are aligned to that which is greater than you, no weapon formed against you will not ever prosper. None. This is your covering. This is the promise. This is the word of God in its most fundamental state. Genesis 9:13. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Numbers 23:19. God is not man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. He has said, and he has said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not fulfill? Either you're in or you're out. I don't care how much viciousness is going on in the earth. I don't care how much the wicked chew people up and spit them out. There are laws in this life. There are universal laws in this world. And if you want to go off of what they did to Jesus, surely Jesus was here for a season. But in them crucifying Jesus, they blessed him. They blessed him in a way that you can't even describe. They won't even allow the whole truth of the blessing to really come forth because he was blessed so much. The fullness of the blessing, all of the wickedness that they all plotted, converted, it purified him, even though he was purified already. It gave him so much momentum and power that he was able to overthrow death. He was able to overcome it. You got to know. Either you are or you're not. This is not a thing of, a lot of times we enter into environments where we don't really know the rules of the environment. I'm a rules kind of girl. I like to know the rules. If you tell me the rules, I'm going to abide by the rules. But if you don't tell me the rules, then all bets are off. You're allowing me to freestyle. If you don't tell someone the rules, then you've got to be able to adjust to whatever they do or say, because they don't have any parameter to be able to align to. They can freestyle it however they want to. The parameters that they align to are the parameters of their internal system. When we look at the children of Babylon, and not the children of Babylon, the children of Israel going into slavery in Babylon. Yes, Yes, God allowed the children of Israel to become slaves in Babylon. That means that they take on the mantle of the Babylonians. When Daniel comes forth to King Nebuchadnezzar, he comes forth and he's saying, we don't eat your, before he comes forth, he has this eunuch amongst him. He says, we don't eat this food, but, we'll still be able to produce for you. But if you would allow us to stay to our diet and to some of the things that we align to, we will be able to produce for you. But if you don't, the production will be affected, because that's what these people wanted. They wanted the production, the spirit, what the spirit would birth. And Daniel, being as wise as he was, told the eunuch that was in control of all of the Israelite slaves, look, in order for all of these prophets to really prophesy and to get a word from God and to be of use to you, then we need to be able to adhere to certain things. Some things we can adjust to, but other things we can't. That's a prime example of Daniel knowing the rules of the kingdom of Babylon. And him knowing the rules, he can intelligently go before the eunuch and kind of convey his need and make it useful to the eunuch to want to bend to Daniel's need. It's the same way in life. If you're in interaction with anyone while you are in bondage in Babylon, and they don't tell you the rules, they can't be angry with you regarding any rule. There is no rule. I don't know what the rule is. What is the rule? I'm over here doing what God flows through me to do, and that's it, and that's all. And in that, there is no fear. As long as you know you are doing what God has designed for you to do, and you are acting in truth and righteousness and in integrity, then where is the condemnation? Who can condemn? These are the things. And the last thing I want to get to is accountability. Accountability is so important. When we look at Daniel and his interactions while in enslavement in Babylon, Daniel is accountable for himself. He's in bondage. A king, a prince, a prophet, mighty in bondage. He works miracles. What Daniel conveyed to King Nebuchadnezzar would be looked upon as a miracle today. He conveyed to the king his dream without even knowing what the dream was. He was able to see. There are many amongst us that can see. There are many that can take little bits of information and create a whole, find a whole truth of it. These are the gifts of the children. This is why Babylon needed them. None in Babylonian kingdom could see like Daniel. And believe me, if they could, they would have came forward, because the king put a decree out that he was going to unalive all of them, lest they were able to do it. He said, you are all worthless. You look the part. I'm feeding you. I put you in prominent positions. You're comfortable, and you can't even produce. Production. Sarah Hagar. Production. Who can produce? Daniel produces. And when I speak to accountability, in Daniel's interaction with King Nebuchadnezzar, after he comes forward and he's able to tell the king his dream, He comes forward and tells King Nebuchadnezzar, relax. Give me a couple of days and I will come forward with your dream interpretation. He doesn't say, I hope. This is the part that gets me. I'm a sucker for details because I like to know and I can read between the lines. When you read the scripture, Daniel is conveying to King Nebuchadnezzar in his face. He tells the guy, take me to the king. This is how confident Daniel is. Daniel and his three. He said, with me and my three brethren, there's no way we were not going to be able to get this. No way. Take me to the king. He goes before the king and he says, I need you to relax. Give me some time. The king tells him the dream. He says, I'll come back with the truth of the dream. Confidence. There's no doubt. There's no hope. There's none of that. And this is a drastic time, you all. This is a very pivotal time. The king has already laid out a decree and said, I'm going to unalive all of y'all. You think he would have cared about unaliving Daniel? Daniel is a slave. It's the slave that comes and tells him this. The one with the least to lose. He don't have nothing to lose. This is fresh off when they get thrown into captivity. They're in depression. These people are in shock. How monumental it was for the children of Israel to lose the scepter of power and to be put into captivity is humiliation multiplied. They're humiliated, brought to their lowest. And he comes forth and he speaks with confidence as a prince, a king to a king that has him in bondage. And he says, give me some time, I'll get you your answer. And he leaves. And he goes with his two friends, Mishael and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, okay? I'm sorry. He goes with Mishael and what's the other one name? I forgot his name. And he, amongst his brethren, tap in. I don't know how they did it. They prayed though. They prayed and they tapped in. And they prayed and they said, God, tell us this dream to save our lives. The king has done X, 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 and said ... And God, like it was nothing. That's what I tell you. Many of you are sitting on gifts like they are nothing, because they are. Nothing. Like it was nothing. Daniel could have did this without having the king needed. This is the part that people don't get. What Daniel is doing, Daniel did all the time. It wasn't that the king gave Daniel some special leaf, a special tincture or whatever. Daniel just needed a reason. And the king gave him a reason. And what was the reason? His livelihood and the livelihood of his brethren, the righteous souls. I bring this up about accountability because it is the righteous souls that God cherishes. If you think for a second that you are not important to God and you have lived a righteous life, you are crazy. You are God's beloved. Look at how God has taken care of you. Look. sit in my house, and every day I hear these birds chirping all day long, y'all. I'm telling you, all day long. And I have had some business investments lately that have not given me my return on my investment yet. They're coming. They just haven't produced themselves yet in my life. And so things have been very, very tight, very tight. Many of you business owners know how it is. Sometimes it's very, very tight. And I just been riding the wave of a very lean time. And I still hear these birds all day. And sometimes I get concerned, like, what are these birds talking about? And I go out and I watch the direction in which they go. And there are always these real big black crows everywhere. Everywhere, friend, when I tell you they everywhere. And I'm like, darn, why are these freaking crows everywhere? And they be talking and their beaks be big and they just be, and I'm like, darn, what are these crows talking about? And I had a conversation with my cousin a week ago, and we were talking about these crows because they just been everywhere. And she said, oh no, those are not crows. Those are ravens. And I looked it up. And sure as I'm sitting here, I looked up, and the first picture that showed up was the same type of bird I've been seeing. See, crows are smaller. Ravens are big. I call them granddaddies. They big. These are the birds that I've been seeing everywhere. And it reminded me of Elijah at the brook. He said, stay over there, and I will send the ravens to feed you. And when I tell you, it's been nothing but ravens around here. Daniel did not embody anything new that he already had to be able to tap in and connect with God, to petition God for what he needed. He just needed a reason. King Nebuchadnezzar was a smart man. I said that when I first did the Bible study on this years ago. Smart man. To put fire under people so that they produce. To not just give him the minimal, but to give him the optimal output of their spiritual essence. I myself have been put in situations that have brought forth the optimal of my spiritual essence. So much so that I can't let it go. It's up and it's stuck. I don't care. If I got $50 million, I'm still up in here. Do you understand? This is the thing. So when you come across things that look to make you afraid, like Daniel, you don't deviate from the path. You bunker down in it. And what? You're knowing. You go straight to source. You got a reason. And then after you deliver, produce, you don't just say, okay, now I'm going to go back over here and do this. No. Look at what King Nebuchadnezzar said. After Daniel produced, King Nebuchadnezzar was so I don't know what the word is. Y'all know I lose my thoughts on here. He was so inspired, so captivated by what Daniel had done, impressed. He says, I want to give you all of these material items. This is why I said $50 million to 10, 20 million. I'm still up here. This is Daniel. Daniel said, I don't need all that. That's cool. But give that over here to them. Because it's up and it's stuck. Internal riches. I'm balling out internally. Balling, wealthy beyond measure, friend. I'm sitting here on kingdoms. Internally. Fortified estates. Strongholds. It's up and it's stuck. Stuck. So that when things come to challenge it, it's like a test. Come test me. What the Jamaicans say? Come test me now. If I said it right. Come test me. It's up and it's stuck. And so the accountability, and I'm wrapping it up with this, the accountability aspect of it is this. When you know that this is my mantra, and you enter into union with me knowing that it is my mantra, it is this mantra that holds you accountable to me. Just as it was with Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar. It was the mantra that was within Daniel that held Nebuchadnezzar accountable to Daniel. He must handle Daniel a certain way. Period. You got to handle me a certain way. You cannot mishandle me, lest you incur the wrath of mishandling me. You incur the curse that comes from mishandling me. As long as I stand in the authority of which I know, and I give God no reason, I partake of all of the gifts. I partake of all of the protection. I leave nothing on the table. Thus, anyone that comes to interact with me, whether in bondage or in whatever state, you must interact with me in respect and homage to my mantra. Because it is the mantra that we are all born with. Everybody on this planet is born with it, whether you stand in it or you don't. It is the connector. And because you deny it does not mean you have power or authority over it. It does not. It means that you say you can go it alone. And good luck with that. But over here, this is what I'm doing. And this is your safe space. This is your protection. It is your mantra. So regardless if anyone else in the world that's born into the world by woman does not honor this mantra, does not honor the truth of this God, it doesn't matter. They're bound by the law of it. And I hope I have built the truth of that all the way from the beginning of this video to here, because I didn't know where it was going. But because God leads me, here I am. It is this mantra that is the accountability partner. It's not me having faith in you as a person, or you as a person, or you. Surely I would like to, but I'm wise enough to know, I live long enough to know that people are temperamental, friend. They change their mind all the time. Highs, lows, get somebody in their ear and tell them something different that seems like it makes sense. They roll in with that. It's all kind of stuff going on out here. But what I can depend on, and what never changes, and that what is fixed, is this knowing. And that I know that this knowing is the God within me. And that God within me is within each and every one of us. And that is the accountability partner. That's the equalizer. That right there. So no, I don't have to micromanage your walk, and I don't have to sit here and be afraid. I will not. I'm not a scary woman. I can't do it. I stand in truth, and I come before you in peace and in love, but I stand in truth and integrity of that truth. This is my word for y'all today. I love you so much. It was on my spirit. Keep going. We all want to play by the rules, but if you don't know the rules, you can't hold people accountable to them. Have a wonderful day. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.